srcu koračam hrabro, svoja sudbinu stvaram pravno, svoja svijet neka vidi ko mi zaista jesmo, svoj blago bez prestanka naselja.
I believe it was the great Croatian writer Lord who wrote, "Don't you think the early 2000s seem so far away?" And I realized something. She's right. The early 2000s, that entire aesthetic is now at least 20 years old. It is so old that it's become vintage and is being cycled back into fashion, music, performing, movies, etc. It's interesting to think about the fact that an era that a lot of us grew up in is now considered, well, an era, a decade. It's also interesting to look at that aesthetic from the outside. Here in Serbia, and I would say probably in the entire Balkan Peninsula, we did not really enjoy the same 2000s aesthetic as the Western world. Our music was filled with turbo folk, bland and boring men and overly sexualized women that often sounded like men. The culture was all about recovering from the traumas of war in the 90s, and the happy-go-lucky dance music of that era was substituted by misogynistic music that promoted vices and misery. So we did not really experience that Y2K fantasy. The fantasy in question being all about perceived eternal beauty, youth, self-confidence, not really complicated subjects, and lyrics that mostly revolve around love, dancing, finding oneself, and having a good time. This aesthetic was casual and comfortable, yet experimental and colorful. It's a form of escapism and high life aesthetic that we all want to live in, but some don't want to admit it. And it's silly not to admit it, because it's okay to say that you want to be fly, hot, sexy, confident, and inspiring. Add on to this the concept of a pop princess, meaning a young, popular woman that the audience can live vicariously through. But that sometimes the wrong kind of people that don't really understand camp and fun could criticize because of whatever random thing they're mad about that month. Women like Britney Spears, Beyonce, Christina Aguilera define this culture, being inspired by and at times even surpassing their predecessors in Madonna, Janet and Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, etc. These women were entire shows, entire projects, but it always seemed like it came naturally to them. They represented young female beauty, but also strength that comes with femininity. They were sexually open, confident, smart, and capable of everything. Of course, we know now how the aforementioned wrong kind of people ruined the experience for everyone mentioned, and how at times even ruined the said people, tarnishing the image of the Y2K pop princess fantasy, but that should not take away from us liking it. Because it's a fantasy. We don't actually want to be overworked and exploited like these people. We just want to buy into the fantasy of their products. That's the beauty of the 2000s aesthetic. Back then and right now, it presents a form of harmless escapism. That wasn't really the case in Serbia, obviously. For one, because of what was happening in our country at the time, but also with the music that was being made. The best and maybe actually the only example of the aesthetic I'm talking about here is Ksenia Pajcin, who started out as a dancer but soon started her solo career. She was gorgeous, charismatic, a serviceable singer, a good performer and dancer, cool and glamorous, yet approachable. However, she was not as polished as the people that I've mentioned, and sadly, she never reached her full potential, artistically or success-wise. The culture did not allow for a Y2K pop princess to exist here. So you can imagine that we're not really nostalgic about that era. And that's why this video is not in Serbian, but rather in English. People here also probably don't understand the concept of a pop princess, unless they're even remotely familiar with music in English. However, that does not mean that we don't have a strong contender in this revival of Y2K-inspired female artists that are trying to replicate the pop princess aesthetic of a Britney, Pussycat dolls, etc. Meet Kat Dosa, or Kat Dosa. She's not really sure how it should be pronounced either. She was born in the early 2000s in South Africa. Her father is Serbian and her mother is Portuguese and Angolan. She actually grew up and lived in Serbia, so she's really making some people here rethink how they define ethnicity and nationality. Truly, the amount of interviewers asking her to define what is Serbian about her when her dad is literally Serbian, she grew up here, she lives here, and she speaks the language just because her skin is darker is actually insane. So just like some of our aforementioned pop princesses, she's causing controversy just by existing. Her name, Kat Dosa, might remind you of Doja Cat, but Kat Dosa's name comes from her actual name, Katarina Cardoso. While being and living abroad, the nickname to the Serbian name Katarina had to be Kat, and Dosa is just a corruption of her last name. I assume the final O in her last name was changed to an A so as to sound more feminine. I got inspired to make this video about her because I saw her perform live, and she ate everyone up. She also danced with me and my friends, so yes, she and I are best friends, 100%, do not question it, please. She has a very cute, bubbly personality. In interviews, she does not really raise her voice much. However, when she gets in the mindset of performing, oh bitch, it's on. She delivers choreography, she delivers good live vocals for pop music, she always looks stunning, and seems to be made for stage. She gained mainstream fame during our national selection for Eurovision this year, where there was this meme going around of her performing her song, literally doing the most, when 5 seconds before that she was all nice, demure, and almost even shy seeming while getting interviewed. She often expressed that she pays attention to the visual identity of her package and to her performances, and in general she takes performing very seriously. Even though it may seem that way, she does not make sex appeal her main, well, appeal. It just comes naturally to her. And all of this screams Britney, Pussycat dolls, Beyonce to me. Like, it's insane how much she would have slayed 20 years ago in the US. Regarding her music though, Kat Dosa started making music during quarantine 2020, all on her own, and she was sending demos to different people here in Serbia. She got noticed and signed by Bassivity Digital, who she works with still, and with whom she released all of her songs. It's interesting. Some people may assume that she got her start because of her looks, but according to her story, she got noticed solely because of her music. She said that her goal was to make music that's different to our mainstream music. She wants to bring the early 2000s pop sound to Serbia, inspired by Britney, Pussycat dolls, and Nelly Furtado. That's the music that she listens to the most, and thus what inspires her the most. She also said that she was a fan of Ariana Grande. Hers was the first concert that she ever went to. And even though people compare her to Ariana here, assuming only because of the cover for her song Tajni Začin, Kat Dosa would not compare herself to Ariana necessarily, saying that Ariana is more of a serious vocalist. Kat Dosa is currently in her 3rd year of economic studies, so yes, she is very academic, and she said that if she were ever to stop making music, she would want to merge these two interests of hers together, helping future artists release songs, make money, etc. But she also said that in like 10 years she wants to live on a farm far away from everything, so yeah, I get it. So far, she has released only 4 songs. We'll start with her most recent song, Tajni Začin, aka Secret Ingredient, with which she competed at our national selection for Eurovision. Since it's the freshest in our memories, of course, and well, we gotta retain viewership here somehow. When talking about her participation in the competition, Kat Dosa said that she felt like she had an upper hand because she wasn't well established in our music industry. People did not know what to expect from her, so she came ready to impress. She's a fan of Eurovision, so we know her application was not just done for the sake of promoting herself, but there possibly was some of that too. She said that she worked on the song at every step of the way, even though she's not listed in the credits of the song. So during the summer of 2023, they started working on this song, without the intention of having it be a song for Eurovision. Back then, they only had the melody down. In September and October of 2023, they had the lyrics written, and on her birthday in October, Kat Dosa decided that she would apply with the song in question. Famous Serbian producer Tsobi worked on most of the song, appearing in the credits as a composer, lyricist, and producer. Now, it is alleged that they are dating, proving this meme about Serbian couples to be true, and we're not gonna talk about that, but honestly, he's the Jay-Z to her Beyonce. Milk that man for all of his money and clout, you absolute queen. Bojana Vunturišević, another famous lyricist from Serbia, wrote on the song. In the spoken intro of the song that you could hear at the beginning of the video, Kat Dosa states that she's courageous, that she creates her own destiny, and she's here to show who she is. Mostly, and above all, a confident person who loves to have fun. The intro to the song sounds ethereal. However, after this, the instrumental kicks in. It is very reminiscent of the instrumental of the song Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls. It's sleek, sexy, and powerful. It invites you to dance while listening to it. The first verse of the song mentions witchcraft, tarot cards, microdosing, mantras, chakras, etc. The lyrics don't really say anything smart. They mostly give the vibe of who Kat Dosa is. Bojana and she talked about all this new age bullshit, so Kat Dosa really resonated with it, and that's why it's part of the song. Next, Kat Dosa sings the main message of the song. This, along with the quite repetitive chorus and bridge, convey the message of the song. We're all unique, we're all special, we all have that specific secret ingredient. We should shoot for the stars, and with that secret ingredient of ours, we can achieve anything we want. Quite a cute message, which paired up with the instrumental and Kat Dosa's way of singing, just makes you feel sexy while listening to it. Oh, and speaking of sexy, this little verse before the chorus is so silly and I love it so much. Everything looks great on you and I can appreciate it when you're so sexy. Okay, yes, queen of hyping up everyone listening to the song and yourself at the same time, wow. In the bridge that I mentioned before, she recites the lines that basically say that all the nobles, all the kings and queens and all the gods ever may have everything, but they don't have that one thing that you have, or that I have, reiterating the point. Yeah, we're all special, hot, and sexy. We just gotta embrace it. That is so early 2000s mindset in pop music. I love her. At our national selection for Eurovision, Kat Dosa performed in the second semi-final. Her performance was inspired by the aesthetic of a circus, which immediately made me think of Britney's performances and album from her post-breakdown comeback. The performance had choreo, looks, visuals, and it was probably the best executed performance of both nights. Sadly, however, Kat Dosa did not qualify for the finals. I previously mentioned that she serves good pop vocals live, and that she's not the strongest vocalist. So far, she might change. That's why she got no points from any of the semi-final jury members. No, Eurovision is not all about vocals, but you cannot win Eurovision with average or bad live vocals. Except that one year when Running Scared won, but that honestly is probably the worst year for Eurovision in the 21st century, so never mind. I assume it was the nerves that affected her that night. After all, that was one of her first performances ever. When I saw her live, her vocals were really good. And even at the end, when she was clearly out of breath from breaking her back and slamming her ass into the ground, she knew how to cover it up. So yeah, the jury did not give her any points, and given that she was not that well known, she could not really count on great televoting points, especially in such a stacked semi-final night. Kat Dosa has said that she's not disappointed for not qualifying, and honestly, I believe her. She did something that nobody ever has done here, and she does a style of music that pretty much nobody does here. And what might that style be, you might be wondering? Well, as I have mentioned, in the visuals, in her attitude, in her performing, and yeah, somewhat in her music, she's just reflecting the early 2000s aesthetic. Her previous songs would relate more to dance pop music that Slater and Kim Petras make, with minimal influences from Sophie and Charlie XCX's music. The three songs that she released prior to her participation at PZE are Dopada, aka Like Him, that would be an approximate translation, you'll hear what I mean later, Lošije, aka He's Bad, and then GoGo. All of these songs are sexy and outgoing. They ooze confidence, and Kat Dosa singing and rapping is very unique. In these songs, she also sells this high-femme slutty fantasy of a young, rich party girl, very Paris Hilton in the early 2000s. Of course, however, it's very clear that Kat Dosa and her team are using the stereotypes people might have against her and are profiting off them, making fun of the stereotypes, but also indulging in the fantasy that they provide. The point isn't that Kat Dosa, the person, is exactly the way she is in songs. I mean, she might be, who knows, but that doesn't matter. She's selling us this perfect blend of early 2000s pop princess with a rich Aries bimbo fantasy, and she's doing it so deliciously. The first song, Dopada, is about a guy that she kinda likes, but she also kinda doesn't like him. Because when she's with him, he will buy her good wine, he will entertain her, but when it comes to any physical contact being made... Basically, she's kinda singing about a sugar daddy situation without actually saying these words ever. The lyrics talk about a luxurious lifestyle that she acquired in a tight black dress and hot raspberry-colored lips. This guy that's trying to get her attention and thus is showering her with gifts is also extremely aggressive with his advances, which is why she's simply using him for her own benefits. The music video, just like the song, is pretty sexy, low-key, dark, and hazy. Kat Dosa in her visuals is very often surrounded by women, gorgeous women at that, of course, thus extending her high-femme girl power fantasy. This music video reminds me a lot of the music video for Ariana's Seven Rings, mostly in the vibe of it all. The music video for this actually came out as sort of a double single, transitioning into the song Lošije. This song has a bit of a darker sound to the previous one. The atmosphere is thus very different. It's steamy, sexy, but also submissive in a way. Kat Dosa, in a more moan-like delivery, sing-raps the song about a guy that she's infatuated with, even though he's actually really bad. The fact that he's not a great person is actually attractive to Kat Dosa, with her apologizing to her dad in the song because of what she's expressing here. Yet again, she's attracted to wealth, that sort of filthy rich lifestyle that lacks emotions. But it's all about expensive cars, sleepless nights, and submission. She quite literally wants the dude to dominate her, to tame her, solely because of his status. This song leans more into this newer reimagining of the 2000s. Essentially, like the ending sample says, she's attracted to sex, rap, violence, and cash. Her third single is the song GoGo, that leans more into the hyperpop sound. You know, a lot of vocals, a lot of vocal production, just kind of like listing things but making it very energetic. However, it's much better than most hyperpop music because it's actually listenable. To me, GoGo is her best song so far. This song goes back to that hyper-feminine aesthetic, as does the music video. The GoGo in the song's title does sound like a cheer, but it also references the character of Gogo Yubari from Kill Bill.
Go, 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 your body, go, 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 your body, go, 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 your body.
She's young, gorgeous, and deadly. It does also sound like she's pronouncing Yubari as your body. Like I said, cheering you on to dance to her song, which is a nice touch if it was done purposely. The music video has my favorite aesthetic though. It's stylized in a way to make it look like it was filmed on a VHS tape, adding onto the Y2K pop princess fantasy. This song also has my favorite verse from her. How do I wrap this video up? I have no idea. When I saw her live, she performed her upcoming single, which goes all the way into the hyperpop genre, and I cannot wait for people here to hear it, because truly, nobody, even on the indie scene, does that genre, or at least they don't do it well. I see a bright future for Kat Dosa, and I hope she can represent Serbia at some future Eurovision. As I have mentioned, she represents an ideal that was never present here, but that is very familiar worldwide, which is why I hope she gets more international fans to really hype her up and appreciate her skills. Also, if you listen to her songs and read the lyrics and you take them seriously, girl, chill and have some fun.